If you're someone who is struggling with anxiety, if you're thinking, how do I cope with these high pressure moments? How do I respond to my anxiety when it hits me like a brick wall? The first thing that you need to do is understand that you're not alone. And there are incredible strategies that you can start using right away that will help you through your anxiety, that will help you manage those anxious moments, and that will help you get to a place where you're no longer struggling with anxiety. But today in this video, I'm gonna teach you the 5 things that you should not do if you are an anxious person. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name is Maddie. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can be part of this incredible community. And today we're looking at the 5 things that you don't want to do if you're aware that anxiety is becoming a pressing concern in your life. So let's get right to it. The number one thing that you should not be doing if you are struggling with anxiety is judging yourself. Now, I know that is easier said than done, but the fact is, anxiety is the most common form of mental struggle in the world, and 31% of US adults are struggling or have struggled with anxiety in the past. So as I said before, you're very much not alone, and judging yourself will actually make it worse. But how do you stop judging yourself? Well, the best place to start is by practicing self-care and accepting who you are in all of your facets. And by doing that, by practicing your gratitudes, by acknowledging the incredible things that you have been able to achieve in your life, simple practices like journaling are going to make a big difference for you. So start practicing that self-care, and importantly, don't judge yourself. Number 2 is comparing yourself to others. When we compare ourselves to other people, especially if it is through this lens of anxiety, we start saying things like, oh, but they can deal with it so much more easily. Why do I struggle with this high pressure moment? Why am I finding it difficult to get through this part of my day or to interact with these people when those people over there, whoever they are not struggling the same way? See, the thing is, a lot of people agree that comparison is actually a biological requirement. It helps us self-actualize to compare, and research has shown that we will always continue to compare ourselves to others. But what's happening right now, especially within social media, is what we call upward comparison. And that is when you're specifically comparing yourselves to people who are seemingly doing better than you. And the reason that this is such a problem if you struggle with anxiety is that can actually provoke more anxiety. If we're aware that other people might be handling things in a different way, possibly a better way, if we kind of put it in that those black and white terms, then that can actually evoke a sense of anxiety. So comparing yourself to others is something that we need to eliminate right away in order to start to get a handle over the anxiety that we're feeling. So that's number 2. If you want to know a little bit more about how anxiety is affecting your life and what you can actually do to start changing it, and in fact, if you want to do a deep dive into how to progress your life in the way in which you want to, don't forget to check out the description box below and specifically look at some of the masterclasses that I can give you free access to so that you can start asking the big questions and navigating your life in the direction you want. The third thing that you should not be doing if you're struggling with anxiety is spending time with negative people. Actually, research shows that when we spend time with negative people, it can cause anxiety and depression. What do I mean by negative people? So those are the people in your life who see that glass as half empty. Maybe people who are constantly complaining or blaming other people. The people who just seem to talk about all the problems they're experiencing and especially are not owning those problems, not dealing with them in any kind of proactive way. You probably know who I'm talking about in your life. Well, every time that you give them space in your life, you have potentially given them access to making you feel more anxious. Now, if you want some help in terms of setting up positive boundaries that can help eliminate the interaction that you're having with those negative people, don't forget to check out this video here where I go through some really clear strategies on how to set up positive boundaries so that you can stop that effect that people in your life may be having on you, those toxic relationships. But right now, in the context of your anxiety and how you're navigating the path ahead, ending those relationships, or at least minimizing the time that you spend with the negative people in your life, can have a really positive effect on how you are able to respond to the more anxious moments in your life. And in fact, can start to allow you to turn that anxiety around and build up your positive influences. Now, in light of what I've just said in the third thing of not spending time with negative people, this fourth thing may come as a bit of a surprise. The fourth thing that you don't want to do if you are struggling with anxiety is to try to think positively. What am I talking about? I just said not to spend time with negative people. Of course, the opposite of that is being more positive. Well, actually, when we just try to think positively all the time, we actually end up getting in this quite destructive loop. Because if you're trying to always think on the bright side and imagine that things are always going to work out well, from time to time, you're going to be wrong. Things don't always work out well. And it's really important to be able to accept that and embrace that fact. And by so doing, embrace the fact that you are able to get through the things that don't work out so well. By building up your resilience and understanding how to move through the more challenging parts of your life. And when things are not going so well, then you can give yourself some trust and understand that even when things get difficult, you are able to move through them. If we just spend our time thinking positively and imagining that everything is going to work out just fine, then when things don't, or when we hit a bump in the road, we could be thrown off course. And that can, of course, evoke anxious feelings. So we don't want to be spending time with negative people, and we don't want to be thinking negatively, but avoid having rose-tinted spectacles on, because that is not going to give you a true picture and may end up feeling like you're lying to yourself, and that can evoke more feelings of anxiety. The fifth thing that you should not be doing if you are struggling with anxiety is probably the most important thing of all. And that is, don't ignore your anxious feelings. It won't work. And also, your body and your brain is trying to tell you something when anxiety comes about. And although it may feel like it is all-encompassing and overpowering, it is actually really important to be able to dig deep into where those anxious feelings are coming from, because when you understand them, that's when you can begin to change them. You can be empowered by the knowledge that you get from fully embracing that anxiety and learning not just what the trigger moments are, which is a really important first step to understand what is going to cause that anxiety, but also where that anxiety stems from in the first place. When we can start to become aware of our whole narrative around anxiety, where it's come from, where it's taking us, what it does to us, then we can start to find the answers. And that's when we can really use the solutions that are out there. Because like I said right at the beginning, not only are you not alone in being someone who struggles with anxiety, but there are really tangible, useful strategies that you can be employing right away to start changing that anxiety. So don't ignore your anxious feelings, embrace them, and know that you have the power to change them. If you want some more information on how to start using some of these strategies, check out the video here, and do make sure to check out the description box below, where I've put a load of free resources so that you can begin to develop the strategies and the exercises that you need. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you again real soon.